Aloha.
Aloha, my name is Rebecca Carruthers, also known as Pua. Today I'm going to share a poem with you. The poem's name is Mai Poina. Cliffs only gods could create, seas bearing blessings, tears from the heavens, growing our Kanaka, a kingdom, a home. Torn away from civilization and thatched together by culture. Malama Aina, ohana not yet arrived, tradition alive. Hand in hand, hierarchy by the people, red with yellow and threaded years, kuleana trickles through the lo'is, hand-picked kalo, the untouchable aloha. Dirt falls through our hands, land not our own, comes with a price, pen or death. Decision of no one, seated with hate, stripped and branded, who to blame? Trashed by prohibition, no righted wrongs, crumbled land. Lost is the true Olelo. Revived through Mo'olelo, heart, hands, and feet. A'olemake, breath of life, weave within, future unclaimed. Throughout my poem, I said a few Native Hawaiian words, and so I'd just like to do a quick overview on what those Hawaiian words mean. The name of my poem is Mai Poina, which means don't forget. Kanaka is people. Malama Ka'aina is to take care of the land. Ohana is family. Kuleana trickles through the lo'is, which means responsibility, trickles through the kalo farms. Kalo meaning taro. Olelo is language. Mo'olelo is legend. A'olemake is not dead. So, my poem was essentially about the overthrow and my experience walking through the Iolani Palace and honestly feeling such a pride for my culture, but also compassionate and feeling that compassion and that sympathy for what Liliuokalani had to go through, what the kingdom had to go through. And so I talked about a little about the land, how the cliffs only gods could create. They're beautiful cliffs, and Hawaii is a beautiful place, and it grew our next generation of people, and every generation of its people, people of Hawaiian ancestry called this home. And so a lot of people used to say about Hawaii that we were uncivilized and almost as if we were savages. And that's really frustrating for me to hear. And throughout the overthrow, I think because people had this misconception about Hawaiians, had this misconception about basically our civilized beings, no one had a true understanding of who Hawaii really was and its people. So throughout my poem, I talked a little bit about how beautiful the culture was, that it was still thatched together. Back then, before the overthrow, Ohana Not Yet Arrived was talking about the next generation of people, of Kanaka Maoli, local people, native people. So I got a little frustrated walking through the Iolani Palace because it's very hard for me to walk in a room where Liliuokalani was trapped and basically forced to give up her kingdom. It's very frustrating, as any human being would be if they would have to give up their kingdom, um, or any of their rights, honestly. Dirt falls through our hands. I talked about the land being forced out of our hands and into someone it doesn't belong to. And overall, Hawaiians are still paying that price today, and rights haven't been wronged. Nobody wanted this, and maybe the people that were over trying to overthrow the kingdom, eventually they did, wanted that, but nobody else in the entire kingdom wanted it. We're basically forced to give up our culture. I feel like a piece of us was lost when we had to give up the kingdom. And nothing's been changed. Nothing's been fixed from what it should have been. And walking through the Iolani Palace, I saw a lot of mixing of culture. And I thought it was very beautiful, but at the same time, I knew that wasn't natural Hawaii. And though we made lots of trade with different countries and all that, I thought it was almost a forced upon culture when it came to looking in the dining room and seeing all these ambassadors that were all from different countries. Hawaiians had such a pride of their allies and who they were close with and who they made connections with. And yet they were still forced as if they were savages to give up a kingdom that was basically theirs, that no one else had ownership for or rightfully had ownership for. So when I talked about lost is the true Olelo, when before Liliuokalani died, after the overthrow, she would only speak Hawaiian. She did not want to conform to speaking English for those who took her kingdom from her, which is completely understandable. I mean, I probably would have done the same thing if I was in her shoes, because I would be very frustrated and very angry. But there is nothing she could do at that point. And so this was her silent protest. And I thought that was very beautiful in a way, because it shows how much she cares about her culture, cares about her kingdom and her people and her land. Revived through Mo'olelo, revived through legends, heart, hands, and feet. I talked about hula and how we share that special connection with people through dancing, through our hula, our oral traditions. In Hawaiian culture, there's not much written traditions and written history, basically, so it's all oral history, which is really interesting to me because we really have our tradition in hula and word of mouth. So it's been passed on from generation to generation. A'olemake. So I did want to say that culture is not completely dead. Hawaiian culture is not completely lost. Breath of light. there is a chance for us to come back to life, not through taking over the kingdom again, but reviving our own culture today. Weaving within, future unclaimed. The next generation is who we need to pass on these traditions and this culture through, so that it may not be lost and may not become dead. Future unclaimed, we never know what the future holds. So that's my poem. Thanks for watching, guys.